You're in the AI agent space. There's a lot of companies in this space. So how do you compete with them?
You always need to pick a lane where you are the best for someone. I spent 6 years leading product for Gmail, Google Calendar, and several other workplace productivity tools.
Was it helpful with your product management role building a company?
Being a product manager at Google is perhaps the worst possible preparation for being a founder of a company.
Do you spend money on paid advertisement?
We did an experiment where we spent like $300 on AdWords. That was not a success.
When you're in this agentic space, what are the challenges?
The single biggest challenge I would say is I think the best preparation to be an entrepreneur is to just...
Hey folks, happy to have another podcast episode of The Product Founder. Today we have Jacob Bank. So we're excited to talk with you. Jacob, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Jacob Bank. I'm the founder and CEO of relay.app. Very quickly, my background. Once upon a time, I was an AI researcher pursuing a PhD in the AI lab at Stanford. I dropped out to found my first company, which was an AI-powered digital calendar called Timeful. We were acquired by Google, where I spent 6 years leading product for Gmail, Google Calendar, and several other workplace productivity tools. And now I've been working on Relay for almost 4 years. So I've been working in AI and productivity my whole career, but in very different contexts, from academic research to startups to big companies, and now back to startups.
That's awesome. Great short summary. Jacob, so you worked 6 years. Was it helpful with your product management role building a company?
I think that being a product manager at Google is perhaps the worst possible preparation you could do for being a founder of a company. Like, I was really trying to think to myself, what would be worse preparation than that? And I couldn't think of an example. Like, opening up a hot dog stand would be better preparation. Like, being a plumber would be better preparation. Almost anything would be better preparation, honestly, than being a product manager at Google. Because at Google, the way you succeed as a product manager is you navigate scale effectively. You navigate having billions of users. You navigate about being live in 200 countries and all the different regulatory regimes in those countries. You navigate your millions of large enterprise customers. You navigate your tens of thousands of coworkers. And so there's this very fast rushing river of inertia of stuff that's happening, and you just need to figure out how to canoe on top of that river, redirect the flow, which is just so completely different from the experience of building a company from scratch that I think it is way more harmful than helpful. So whenever someone comes to me that are like, I'm going to work at Google as a PM for a few years and that will prepare me to start your company, I say, working at Google for a few years is a great thing to do. You'll make good money there. You'll learn a lot there about how to build product at scale and how to navigate large organizations. None of that will translate into starting a company. Just be aware of that.
Is it because like when you work at Google, like in a lot of these cases, you're focusing on a product which has reached a very high level of maturity, right? And now in a startup, you're just really fighting for product market fit and just showing to let's say 100 users like, I swear my product exists and like it's a great product, please use it. Let's pause here for a second. The other day I was looking into our channel analytics and I noticed many of you guys are watching a lot of our episodes but not yet subscribed to our YouTube page or Spotify. I will ask you as a favor, please support us by subscribing to our YouTube page and Spotify page, and I will promise you I will do everything in my power to make each episode better and better. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there are many kind of nuanced components, but everything comes from the maturity of the products, the technology, the organization. It is so different. Yeah, there are some tiny overlaps in product intuition. Like if you're a good designer at adding buttons to Gmail, you may be a good designer at building good products from scratch, but that's more accidental than because you honed your craft making buttons in Gmail. Adding incremental value to an already existing brand with billions of users is just a completely different problem from getting anyone in the world to care about something you've done.
Do you think is there any role that you could do before becoming an entrepreneur that when you become an entrepreneur, you build your own company, it's like, this really helped me from my career to transitioning to this?
Personally, I think the best preparation to be an entrepreneur is to just do it. Like there's no real substitute. I think the two closest things are, number one, being an entrepreneur in a different domain, like not a technology startup. Like running a small consulting business or running a small home services business or running an SAT tutoring business. Like many founders kind of got their start doing something like that because you do learn the ropes of like, who is the customer that would care about this? No one knows me. No one knows I exist. No one trusts me. How do I get my first customer? How do I price the thing appropriately? How do I hustle and get leads? I think that is good preparation. Like I think hustling to build a non-tech business is good preparation. And I think being in an influential early role at a pre-product market fit startup can also teach you the ropes. But ultimately, there's no substitute for just doing it. And so I think, yes, if you don't feel like you have the idea yet or the skills yet or the network yet, and you want to work in technology, probably working at the earliest stage startup you possibly can will teach you the most transferable skills, but your mileage may vary. The one caveat to that is one of the most important things you need when you're building a company is a talent network, because the talent network is what will give you your first hires, your second hires, both through your first degree hires and then second degree hires. And everyone we've hired on our team is someone I've either worked with directly at Google or worked with someone who I worked with at Google that vouched for them and that I can count on. And so from a skill perspective, nothing I learned at Google has helped me in the startup. But from a network and talent perspective, it has helped me a ton. So I think that is a very legitimate reason to work at a scale up or another larger company. Like you will build an amazing talent network that will be sort of the backbone of many great career opportunities for you, whether it's hiring for your own company or joining other companies or getting referrals to great people. And if you work at a larger company, there's by definition a larger talent network to access. You're not as close to any individual, so there's a trade-off there. But my talent network from Google has been an integral part of building this company for sure.
Yeah, actually, this was my next question I want to ask. Like, what about from networking standpoint, which, I mean, you obviously answered. And now going to Relay. So when did you decide to start this company?
So I left Google and decided to start the company in the summer of 2021. Pretty much 4 years ago. And I started the company with 2 observations. I'm not claiming that these observations were unique to me at all, but these were the 2 observations. Observation number 1 is I thought productivity tools and collaboration tools were focused on the wrong problems, including what I was doing on Gmail. We were so focused on the buttons within our product and what users would come into our product and do, and not nearly focused enough on what users were trying to achieve across products. Like I'll give you an example of that. In Gmail, we spent a lot of time working on how you label emails. How can you set labels automatically with AI? Can you set labels manually? Can we make the buttons to assign labels super frictionless? And we'd go to customers and say, hey, look at this cool new way to set labels. And they'd say, like, yeah, whatever. Labels are fine. My real problem is I get customer support tickets and I need to match those to customers in my CRM, and I need to get alerts if an important customer has a bad ticket, and I need to send them an email saying I'm monitoring this ticket, FYI, I'm aware of it. And we would just be like, I don't know, good luck, use the API, not my problem. Like, because it was a complex cross-product workflow, but complex cross-product workflows are real work. That's where the value in work is actually created. And so I wanted to build a company that would focus less on, here are some buttons you manipulate when you come into our tool to work, and more, here is a system that does work for you across all your tools. That was number 1. And then number 2 was AI is going to help. This was like a year before ChatGPT, so it was not yet obvious at the time. Now, of course, it's obvious that AI is going to help all of us in all aspects of our work. And so those were the 2 founding premises. Can we build a tool that does work for you across your products, and can it use AI to help? We spent 2 years and 3 months before we got our first paying customer wandering in the desert. We built a ton of different product prototypes that all fit that spirit and that mission. We built a stand-up tool, we built an HR onboarding tool, we built a knowledge base, we built a performance review tool, all of which that we're trying to automatically do work on your behalf in one particular function or serving one particular use case. And none of them really clicked, but eventually what we landed on was building a cross-product automation workflow and agent tool that was horizontal, that would let people articulate a job they wanted to be done and then build an AI agent to do it for themselves that connected across all their tools and used AI for decision-making, judgment, analysis, research, etc., whatever it needed to do as part of achieving that job. So that's the quick version of the founding premise of the company and how we got to where we are today. I would say what we've built today is still totally consistent with the founding premise, but very different from the mocks that we had in our pitch deck in summer 2021.
Yeah, when I checked Relay, it looked like a very modern product. I thought like you started the company like last year with the whole explosion of the AI agents.
Yeah, the product has only been live for about a year and a half and has really only taken off in the last 6 or 7 months. So the product is indeed very new, but there was a long foundation of experimentation and research and product building that we did. You know, much like many of the other companies that have become hot in the AI space, there's often a very long foundation that we kind of forget about once the product becomes successful. Like Clay, super hot right now. Nobody really talks about the fact that they were around for 6 years with no customers. Or, you know, people have been talking about the Bolt story, right? Bolt, 50 million ARR, whatever, in 4 months. But it's a 7-year-old company that was building, I think it was called StackBlitz for a long time. And so I think there's a separation between Relay the company and Relay the product. Relay the company has been around for 4 years, where we built all this technical foundation and we learned what we wanted to actually do. And then Relay the product has only really been hot for like 6 months.
Makes a lot of sense. You're in the AI agent space.
Yes.
There's a lot of companies in this space. So how do you compete with them?
In our section of the space, which is horizontal AI agent and workflow builders that are targeted mostly at small and medium businesses, we see 7 companies come up over and over again. These are not the only 7, but these are the 7 that we see come up over and over again. There's 3 companies from the traditional automation space that are moving into AI. That's Zapier, Make.com, and N8. And then there's the AI native workflow and agent builders like Gumloop, Lindy.ai, Relevance.ai. Those are the 3 that we see the most often. And those 2 markets have kind of converged into one because all of the traditional automation players are adding more AI and agentic capabilities, and all of the new agent first players are adding integrations and workflow fundamentals like webhooks and paths and iterators and triggers and actions and stuff. And so that's the nature of the space. And so when I think about competition, I want to think about how are we building the best product for a subset of the market, and how are we building the best go-to-market strategy that corresponds to the product that we think is great for a subset of the market. So if you are a developer and you want to self-host a tool, and you are very comfortable writing code and manipulating JSON objects and constructing your own HTTP requests, you should use N8N. Don't use Relay. Like, N8N is the right tool for you, but most of our audience is not comfortable with webhooks and custom HTTP requests and self-hosting. And so with Relay, the lane that we are carving out for ourselves is that we want to be the easiest to use and most intuitive tool for less technical people. So that means less technical people at tech companies like marketers, support people, operations, finance, product, etc. And it also means non-tech companies. We have a ton of real estate firms and lawyers and contractors and local manufacturers that are using Relay because they couldn't possibly figure out Make or N8N or Gumloop. Those are just more technical products that are serving a more technical audience. So that's our product strategy, which is, I feel like in product strategy, you always need to pick a lane where you are the best for someone. And so one of the companies one of the things that I think is really interesting in the space right now is Make.com versus N8N. And I apologize for going so deep into the weeds of this space, but I think it is an interesting case study where for a long time, Make.com was the cheaper, more flexible Zapier. But now N8N is the cheaper, more flexible Make.com. So why would you use N8N? I mean, why would you use Make.com? Because you originally chose Make.com over Zapier because it was cheaper and more flexible. And now there's another thing that's cheaper and more flexible. So I don't think Make.com, I'm sure Make.com has a bunch of great strategic options. They have a huge user base and a great product, but that's a dangerous spot to be in where you cannot say we are the best in this area. And so I always want to hug the line of Relay will always be the easiest to use product for non-technical users. That is the thing that we must always stick to and must always be true. And we know that's true because when users sign up, they typically say, I tried Zapier or Lindy or Gumloop or Make and failed. I just couldn't figure it out. It was too hard for me. It didn't work for me. I couldn't get it. If we have a customer who says, hey, I'm super happy with Make, why should I choose Relay? I say, don't. Why would you switch to Relay if you're super happy with Make? I never try to convince. This is why even the word competition doesn't feel right to me. We're an alternative to those. There are many users for whom I would recommend N8N or Gumloop over us or Lindy over us because they have certain capabilities or use cases that we don't have. And so if a user asks me to say why should I pick your tool over this other tool I'm happy with? I say, well, if you're happy with that tool, keep using that tool. But users typically choose, the kinds of users who are happiest with relay.app are those that found products XYZ a bit too confusing and hard to use. So if you have ever used those and found them confusing, try Relay. So that's the product strategy. And then similarly, we need a go-to-market strategy that matches that product strategy. And so our go-to-market strategy is content, community, and education. Because we want to, like, if you are new to AI agents, if you are new to workflows and new to automations, and you just want to get started with the easiest to use tool, what do you need? You need a starting point from an educational perspective. What are some use cases that you might want to use it for? What are the basic techniques you need to understand? And so pretty much all I do as the founder of the company is I meet with 5-ish customers every day. I see what they're trying to accomplish in the product. I turn that into blog posts, LinkedIn posts, YouTube videos, and webinars, and post to our newsletter. That then creates our whole marketing strategy. Hey, this other real estate agent did this. It was pretty cool. Do you want to do that too? And then that also governs our whole product strategy, because we see, hey, they were trying to do this and they got stuck on this trigger filter. They were trying to do this and they got stuck in the prompt for this AI step. And then it makes it very easy for our product team to say like, oh yeah, we can totally improve this part of the product to better serve that use case. So I think I've tried very hard not to overcomplicate it this time around. It's super simple. Just like find a set of users that fit that category of people who would really benefit from AI agents but can't understand the more complex tools, meet with as many of them as possible, and use that to both drive our content and education strategy and also our product strategy.
And may I ask, how many users do you have now?
We have about 1,000 paying customers. We're actually, my birthday's tomorrow. I think we're going to hit 1,000 tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks so much. And that corresponds to, it's always hard to count users. That corresponds to like tens of thousands of MAUs, because we have a freemium product. So we have a lot of MAUs, and then a subset of those, I don't know if it's a lot, but we have a solid number of MAUs, and then a subset of those convert to be paying. And then the 1,000 customers, many of those are teams that have multiple users within the customer. So we don't really care about MAUs or weekly active users. We care about the number of weekly active teams that are benefiting from the product and the percentage of those that become paying customers.
Do you spend money on paid advertisement? Okay, just organic, right?
No, we did an experiment about a year ago where we spent like $300 on AdWords. That was not a success, so we stopped doing that. We sponsored a couple of influencer videos like 8-9 months ago for like $500 or $1,000. That also didn't work that well. And so right now, all of our growth is 100% organic. I think about 50% of it comes from just unattributed word of mouth, people who love the product telling others about it. And then 50% comes from stuff we do on LinkedIn, on YouTube, through our newsletter, through SEO content. But yeah, it's 100% organic, 100% inbound. We never do any outbound. So yeah, we do no paid and no outbound. It's all organic inbound. That's either content, community, or education.
That's great. It's very interesting. This is kind of like a new shift and building products, not necessarily in the past few years, but past like 5 years. I see that a lot of founders just keep talking about their product and just keep putting it out there until the time that they attract a lot of users.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think a lot about is what go-to-market motions are more likely to succeed in the age of AI, and what go-to-market motions are less likely to succeed in the age of AI. So for example, outbound email, I do not think outbound email is more likely to succeed in the age of AI, because I think all of our email inboxes are just going to get so freaking cluttered with this AI SDR spam that channel is going to become dramatically less effective. Similarly, like crappy SEO listicle blog posts, that's going to become dramatically less effective, right? Because anyone can now use AI to create a pretty good listicle blog post, and people aren't even going to click through to those anymore because they're going to show in search overviews. So I think there are certain strategies that are less likely to work in the age of AI. And then I think there are certain strategies that are more likely to work in the age of AI. Like, you can never beat word of mouth from trusted friends and colleagues. Like, that's always the best. Like, I remember, I'll draw an analogy to online reviews on Yelp and Google Maps. Like, when Yelp first came out, it was like, oh my God, amazing. Like, I can learn about how good a restaurant is before I go there. And then very quickly, I personally began to distrust Yelp reviews. Like, who's actually doing these reviews? Like, are they AI generated? Are they spam? And so what did I retreat back to? I asked my friends what restaurants they like. I asked people with similar taste what restaurants they like. And so I think in a world where, so one thing that's always safe to bet on is make people love the product so much that they tell their friends. That's hard. That's a high bar, but like that's always safe to bet on. Then the other thing that is safe to bet on is, I think, unique founder-led content where I make all of our YouTube videos, I host all of our webinars, I write all of the LinkedIn posts, because really all of our users are building a relationship with me. They're buying a product from me because they like something about the way I'm operating. They like maybe the way I teach. They like maybe that I have a family. They like maybe that our product is optimized for a certain kind of person. I think one of the biggest myths in product is that people buy a product based on feature differentiators. Every time I hear people ask like, oh, well, we have this feature that no one else has. A, no, you don't. Everyone has that feature. And B, I don't think that's how people make decisions. Let's take an example of a couple products that are really hot right now. Linear is an example. We use Linear for our bug tracking and issue tracking. Can you name a feature that Linear has that Jira doesn't have? No, like Jira has everything. Jira has way more features than Linear has.
Jira has too much.
So why did you pick Linear? You picked Linear because of vibes. You picked it because of vibes. You picked it because the founder is compelling on Twitter. He's become this thought leader of crafted products. You've heard that all the YC companies are using Linear. Linear is the blessed, hot, vibey company in issue tracking. Same thing. We picked Loops as our email mailing list provider. Why do we pick Loops? Is it because it had a feature that Drip didn't have or MailChimp didn't have or Customer? No, we picked it because of vibes, the founder vibes, the company vibes, the aesthetic of the website. And so I think people spend way too much time agonizing about feature checkboxes and not enough time thinking about this unique combination of how do our product and our go-to-market fit together such that our target audience will have heard about us, and they'll have heard about us with the right vibes, the vibes that make them want to buy the product. And that's why it's so important for me to do all the webinars, because people are like, oh, wow. And I meet with all these customers one-on-one because people think like, wow, like the founder of the company hosted the webinar, met with me one-on-one, gave me all this, personal attention. And then they go talk about it to 10 other people.
It's just very interesting. I also think that in this age of AI, it's all word of mouth. We see with Lovable as well. Like when I open my LinkedIn, it's just exploding. Everyone's just talking about how great this tool is.
And also with Lovable, I think there's an important vibes component. Like I think the founder, he's really good on social media about, he comes across as really genuine and really passionate and really mission driven. And he's building a big company in Europe. And like they seem to be going about it the right way. They're very transparent. Like, can you tell me a feature that Lovable has that V0 doesn't have, or Bolt doesn't have, or Base 44 doesn't have, or Replit doesn't have? Probably not. But something about the way Lovable shows up is working, and it's making a lot of people build a relationship with the company and the product.
And even the name is Lovable.
Even the name. I mean, the name choice is super important, right? Like, I think the name really matters.
It's very interesting. Now, when you're in this agentic space, what are the challenges? Just not from necessarily marketing or product, but I want to understand more from technical and infrastructure.
The single biggest challenge, I would say, is the rate of change in the underlying ecosystem. New models are coming out all the time. New protocols are coming out all the time. Like now we have reasoning models in addition to non-reasoning models, and now we have multimodal models, and now we have prompt caching, and now we have MCP and tool calling and structured output. And I have never worked in an environment where the underlying technology building blocks are changing this quickly. My first company, we built an iPhone app in the App Store in 2013. So that was like early-ish days for the App Store. It was like iOS 6 into iOS 7. And so there'd be a new iOS update once a year. And you'd be like, oh, got to make sure the app still looks good in iOS 7. And now it's like a new state-of-the-art model comes out every month. And not just a state-of-the-art model, because swapping out models is relatively straightforward in the product, but a new set of entire use cases are enabled. So for example, like knowledge bases and vector databases and RAG-based techniques. Like RAG was super hot like 3 years ago, and then it was really cold, and then it was hot again. And then we figured out, the way we actually want to use RAG in our product is we want to let people create an agent-specific knowledge base that can take in Google Docs or spreadsheets or PDFs that are too big to fit in the context window and can be vector searched over. But it was just like, there was a lot of fog of war is it important? Like MCP also, like, is it important? What are we actually going to use it for? Who does it serve? It's changing really quickly. And so I think the rate of change is probably the hardest technical problem right now. And that's also a problem for users that I think more about kind of the marketing and the product side right now, which is like the biggest challenge we have is to communicate to users what's possible. and what's actually likely to work. Because on the one hand, there's a lot of people out there selling snake oil, these like 200 node N8N templates that are totally not going to work for anyone. On the other hand, just because something's not possible today doesn't mean it won't be possible in 3 months. And so I think both of those challenges just boil down to we need to be super fast and super nimble, because the infrastructure is changing, the technology is changing, the user expectations are changing, the use cases are changing. And so this is why I think small companies are really, really well suited to win in this environment. Because, back when I was at Google, no significant project could be done in under a year, and no significant project could be initiated in under 3 months of discussion. And so if you spend 3 months initiating a discussion on a project, by the time you actually start execution, it's already totally out of date, let alone a year later or 18 months later when it ships. Whereas in Relay, we can decide to do something in 5 minutes and ship it in 3 days. And that's more of what you need to do in this day and age, I think.
How do you do that? So how do you decide in 5 minutes and ship it in 3 days? Can you break down the steps and the tools?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. Let's say a new model comes out that can do image generation or video generation. And we start to hear some demand from users that are like, or we think to ourselves like, oh, wow, yeah, we have a bunch of marketers who use our product. Maybe they want to use video generation as part of their automated workflows once a week to generate a short form video. So we think, okay, that's valuable. New model came out. We go look at the new model, figure out, or we decide, yeah, like, let's see what we can do in video. And then we basically said like, well, the quickest thing we can do is we already have this step type to generate images based on a prompt. Let's just hook up these new model providers to that image generation thing, fork that step type, make it a video step type, and we can launch that in 3 days. But that's not enough to be a really great product, because then we still need to understand, well, right now we have a file size limit of 100 megabytes. A lot of videos need to be over 100 megabytes. So then we have to do an infrastructure project to raise the limit. Then we realize, oh, videos are actually useful for these use cases, for not those use cases. They have really high credit costs, so we need to give users more awareness of what the credit costs. And so I don't think we ever have shipped a perfect version of something in 3 days. We've shipped a V1 in 3 days. And typically at Relay, our V3 is when it gets good. So we typically can ship like a V1 in 3 days, a V2 in another couple weeks, and then the V3, which is really good a couple months later. But the only way we know what V3 should be is by experiencing Vs 1 and 2. There's no way we could just if we could write V3 down from scratch, we would have just done that. But that's not possible. I always used to joke, even when I was at Google, like, maybe I'm just not a very good product manager. Maybe a very good product manager can just conjure the perfect product solution from their heads, but I've never met someone who can do that.
Now that you worked at Google for 6 years and you have these conclusions, how would you build your company differently in terms of like people? Are you going to hire a PM? How's the structure looks like?
So right now we have a 9-person team, soon to be 10. It's going to be 6 engineers, 2 designers, a product manager, and myself. And I am playing basically all non-product engineering and design roles, most notably marketing, customer support, customer success, sales, finance, HR, operations. And I'm really happy with that setup, actually. I originally was planning to be the product manager too, and then it just turned out one of the best product managers I've ever worked with happened to be available and interested. And so we weren't actually planning to hire a product manager. He just joined us opportunistically, and it's been amazing. And so that's the team architecture that I think has worked well for us. One of the things that's been most important is that we've broken free from the 2021 way of thinking. So the 2021 way of thinking was you raise a seed round, you hire 10 people. You raise a Series A, you hire 30 people. You raise a Series B, you hire 100 people. You raise a Series C, you hire 200 people. And certainly there are classes of business where you need that many people. If you're selling to the enterprise, you still need bodies, because you need account executives and you need customer success specialists, and you need implementation people and solutions engineers. I don't believe there's a way to build an enterprise, a multi-billion-dollar enterprise company with only 20 people, because the enterprise motion just requires mass. But if you're building a self-serve bottom-up product, I see no argument why you need to be a 100-person company. Here's why I believe that. In my career building software, I have never seen a bigger team build a simpler and more intuitive product than a smaller team. Bigger teams can build more features, they can build more complexity, they can build more enterprise requirements. I've never seen a bigger team build a simpler, more intuitive, higher quality product than a smaller team. And so on the product team size, I don't actually see a reason why we ever need to be more than 10 people. Now, maybe we'll be 11 or 12 or 15, but like on that order of magnitude, I see no reason why we'd ever need to have a product engineering design team of 100 people. Then on the marketing side and the go-to-market side, we've at various times hired marketing contractors, but we've always ended up with just me plus AI being a better solution. We've almost hired support contractors. And again, we've always found that our team plus AI is a better solution. And so I actually think that we can scale certainly one order of magnitude up to 10,000 customers and probably 2 orders of magnitude up to 100,000 customers without materially changing the shape of the team. We may need to go from 6 to 8 engineers. We may need to hire 1 customer support person and 1 marketing person. But I see no reason why we would need to be 100 rather than 15 or 20. And that has been a total mindset shift for me over the lifetime of the company, where if you had talked to me 2 years ago, I would say, we'll hit product market fit, and then we'll raise Series A, and then we'll be 30 people, and then 100 people, and I had all these plans of here's what the org chart is going to look like at Series B. I can even I have a document of here's what our Series B org chart is going to look like, and now I'm like, what was I thinking? That is totally unnecessary for the kind of business that we're building. And now, that's not to say we will never go enterprise and never need a larger team, or that we'll never invest in paid marketing and need paid marketing experts. Those may be true, but I think AI has opened the world to the different menu of possibilities of how you can build a really big business. It doesn't have to be just hiring tons and tons of people and spending tons and tons of venture capital.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think lean is the best way. Jacob, we're slowly getting close to the end of this podcast episode. Is this something that you would like to share with the listeners as well? We will put the link in the chat description as well. They can check it out.
The thing I'd like to share is I don't think everyone has fully realized yet how different the world of work is going to be pretty soon. And so whenever I talk to someone who still works at a big company, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll get my promotion, and then I'll be a manager, and then I'll have an 8-person team, and then I'll get a promotion, and then I'll have a 20-person team. I'm just like, whoa. That world doesn't exist anymore. That world is not going to exist anymore. The way companies are going to be built is totally different. The way we structure our roles is going to be totally different. And you can either be one of the people who's leaning into that, or you can be one of the people who's denying that that's going to happen. And the way to lean into that is become a super IC that's powered by AI tools. Never ask for headcount. Always think about how you can build more with AI. And then prepare yourself for a world where we're going to have many, many more much smaller companies with small, tight-knit, empowered, autonomous teams using AI. That's where I think the world of work is going. And so when you're thinking about your career and your company and your work and building your personal skills, just keep that world in mind and build the skills that you need to succeed in that world.
That's so right. And I think we should really think about it.
Yeah, and I think we should all see it as something that's exciting and a big opportunity rather than something that's scary.
Absolutely. Jacob, thank you so much for joining this podcast episode. It's been an amazing conversation.
Thanks, Amir. Great to talk to you.
Wow, you made it till the end. I'm very proud of you. Comment down below which part of the podcast did you like the most and who should I interview next. Also, on the screen, you will see a lot of our other great episodes that you should definitely check out.